So last time I got the hinge working. The hinge is made out of PVC pipe. And this time I'm going to prepare this window frame for the window. This flange that I'm sanding on the inside is going to have to seal to a weather strip on the raised lip around the window. And it's very rough now from the packing tape that was used as a release agent to mold it when I molded it from the window itself. So I'm going to have to get that perfectly flat. And this rough stuff on the hinges I'll probably leave fairly rough, but there's a gap right here where the pipe isn't glued to the rest of the frame as good as I'd like, so I'm going to try to fill that in before I gel coat this. And this part got ground up pretty bad when I had to grind a way to get the window frame to lay flat on this piece so the hinge would go together. And all of this gouging and stuff in here I'm going to try to fix without making it taller again and recreating the same problem I was trying to fix before. So I'm just painting some resin on here, and there will be one layer of the thinnest 3/4 ounce chopped strand mat. And as I wet it out, I'm going to try to tuck it in as best I can underneath the pipe there and leave everything as flat as I possibly can. And hopefully once I'm through with this repair, the frame will fit over this and let the hinge pin go into place. Once I finish this repair, I'm going to mix a bunch of milled fibers into what's left of that little glass of resin. It's going to be mostly glass at this point. And I'm going to use this to fill in those gaps behind the pieces of pipe. This is mostly glass with enough resin to let it flow into the crack. So here's the chopped strand mat, and that's looking really good. And over here we've got where we flowed those milled fibers into the crack, and that worked amazingly well. Those cracks are gone now. There's a little raised bit, where the gloopy resin hardened, and I'm going to leave this fairly rough, but if you wanted to, you could sand this as smooth as you wanted. The cracks are gone, and this part is ready to be finished now. So this is the window frame, and this little ridge where this was glued on, and all this roughness has to go. The top of this flange is where the window itself is going to be glued to the frame. So I'm going to try to sand this just as smooth as I can get it. It's going to take a lot of time sanding. I'm going to get all the glass splinters off of the rest of the frame, but I'm going to spend most of my time sanding on that flange. And once again, I test the hinge to make sure that it fits before moving on to the next step. Everything gets wiped down with acetone before any kind of resin gets put on the part. And this is fairing compound. And there's still, even though I did a lot of sanding to make that flange as smooth as I could, there's still some little valleys left from the packing tape that I wanted to fill in with the fairing compound, so I didn't wind up sanding this too thin. And after sanding, everything is wiped with acetone. And my favorite part is rolling on the gel coat. I'm going to put 4 layers on this, and I'm going to put it on really thick so that it flows out and finds its own level. I only recorded putting on the 1 layer, but there are 4 layers here, and you can see how nice and smooth it gets if you have it on thick enough so that it actually levels itself. And if this was less critical, I'd be tempted to just leave it like this, but there's some drip marks and stuff that I'm going to sand off because I can get a much flatter, smoother surface if I sand it. Right now I'm grinding off any of the gel coat that ran from the other side around underneath. And I'm going to have to make sure this doesn't happen when I paint this side, because the other side is already done and it's really nice. So there's a ton of sanding on this, and most of it goes on that flange. And now that that's ready, I can wipe it down with acetone in preparation for putting gel coat on. And I'm going to cover the back side with masking tape to make sure that the gel coat doesn't run around to this side like it did on the other side. Because this is nice gel coat. I don't want to be ruining it or coming back and grinding a bunch of drips off of it. The masking tape just makes it a lot easier. And once again, I'm putting this on really thick, much thicker than you could put paint on. Paint wants to go on thin so that it can dry by evaporation. And gel coat is a resin that actually will cure better if it's on thick. So if you want a thick coat, use gel coat. And look how nice this turned out. Once again, if this was anything less critical, I'd be tempted to just leave it the way it is. This could be done. But I can make that surface even smoother and flatter with sanding. So here we go again. And now I'm going to make it even smoother by going through the grits of sandpaper up to 400. And there's a few thin spots where I got close to sanding through. But you can see how flat and smooth this is now. So with that covered with gel coat, I can peel my masking tape off the other side, and a few little bits of it got stuck in the gel coat, and the scraper tool on the oscillating tool works pretty good for that. And one last sand on that flange. So this is the finished result. Extremely flat and extremely smooth. So that side seals to the weather strip, underneath, and this side is where the window gets glued on. And both sides of the flange are really, really flat and really, really smooth now. So, since I'm feeling lucky, I'm gonna work on the other piece. Every time I go to a new step, I'm gonna check to make sure that the hinge works. And what do you know? It doesn't. So now I have to figure out what did I do to make the hinge not fit. The first thing I tried is tapering the end of the hinge pin to see if that would help it go in. But yeah, that's not my problem. It won't go in from the other side either. So I'm trying to see if there's any dirt or debris in that gap where I had to sand that stuff before. This is not the problem. I guess it doesn't hurt that that part got sanded some more, but that's not the problem. So the problem is that some of the gel coat has made the openings to those pieces of pipe just a little bit smaller than they were. And the other piece of pipe that is the hinge pin won't fit in the hole. And since I'm working in Vero, I don't have all the tools at my garage. A really large countersinking bit would be really nice here, or a big enough drill bit, but I kind of make it work with just the biggest drill bit that I have and swing the drill around a little bit as I'm reaming out the opening. Ream. And just like that, with a little reaming out, the hinge pin can go through once again. And just to make sure, I reassemble the hinge at every step of the process. And now I'm feeling really lucky. So I'm prepping this other part for gel coat. And here comes the part I like, where it starts to look more like a finished part of a boat. And I'm only recording the first layer, but I'll put several layers of gel coat on this before I'm done. And I guess that's all I got done this week.